All right, Megan, this is so fun. We've had a couple of conversations already where we've gotten to talk for Max Combos. Now this is like Max Combos Plus. We just get to talk about whatever. So do me a favor if you would be so kind, because we do put this out on YouTube. Introduce yourself. Give us a little introduction to you, your background. I want to hear it all.
Yes, so thank you for having me on the platform. My name is Megan Anderson, and I am the VP of Client Relations at Highway.ai. Many of you probably have heard of Barry Habib. He is the master behind it all. We have various platforms like MBS Highway for loan originators, list reports for agents, along with our certified mortgage advisor course. And then on top of that, one thing that I have been really having fun learning about the last kind of year and a half, 2 years has been artificial intelligence and how I can use it and help individuals in the mortgage and real estate realm utilize it as well. So basically, at the end of the day, I do a little bit of everything.
I love that. I want to peel it back a little bit more than that because I know you've been with Highway AI. How many years now?
Going on 9 years.
Amazing. Amazing. So cool. I know for both of us, we both kind of got in this industry with a little bit of what I guess I can call mortgage celebrities, right? Like
Mhm.
they're very well known to a very niche group of individuals. How do you feel like you have kind of created your own persona under such a well-known individual?
Yeah. So, at first I kind of struggled with that a little bit. I mean, especially as I was getting into this industry, because growing up, my mom, she actually just retired on Friday. So she's in like day two of retirement now. But my mom, growing up, was an originator. So I was always kind of in this space a little bit, but I still didn't know a lot. And so when I started with MBS Highway at the time, a lot of it was just soaking up every single knowledge and aspect that I could. But there was a time period where I did start doing speaking, and I kind of just felt like I was parroting Barry, like I wasn't really talking in my own voice. I didn't really know what my own voice was. I could talk about things and it was great that I understood them, but I didn't have my own voice. And then I started to talk a little bit more about social media because that was something that was like more in my lane. But now, how can I tie in the knowledge that I have? And that was really helpful. And that has just kind of evolved and continued to evolve. Now I'm speaking a lot more on artificial intelligence, right? So I think it's kind of just about finding the things that you're interested in. And one thing that has been really powerful and appreciated working under such a celebrity is that I've kind of always had the platform to be able to communicate and get out there and speak to people. And so it's just been following my passions and being passionate about teaching other people about it.
I love that. I love that. Something that comes up, I feel like, in almost every one of these interviews is authenticity. Finding
Yes.
your authentic voice, and no one comes about it the same way, right? And some
Hmm.
people are almost born with it. They have just kind of this confidence. My daughter is that way, where I'm like, oh my gosh, girl, like you just don't let anyone ever take that from you.
Hmm.
I feel like I had to find it much later, and it took time. It took kind of trial and error. It took finding, like you said, it took finding that passion, that something to really light that spark to actually figure it out. So
Yep.
good for you for finding it. I had a feeling we would kind of have that commonality because again, same, like let's figure it out for ourselves. Tell me about your ventures into AI. I want to know like what are you looking at right now? What has you the most excited? What are you leveraging? What are you telling people to leverage? Lay it on me.
Yes. So the AI world gets me really, really excited. I truly believe that AI is going to be the most important technology of our time. And I believe if you're going to be in the industry, in any industry, not just ours, if you're going to be working for the next more than 2 years, you have to learn how to utilize AI. It's not going to be enough to know how to use Microsoft and Excel, right? You have to know how to utilize these various AI platforms and how to communicate with them. And honestly, my goal when I'm speaking about it is just to get people less terrified about it. I know that it's scary, but at the end of the day, anything that has the power to do good also has the power to do evil. We understand that. That is just how the world works, but it's how do we decide to use it? And personally, I've been using AI for a variety of things. One, to help me sound more professional in emails, or maybe I'm a little, something made me angry and I feel like it's coming off in the email. I'll use it to rewrite it in a professional yet direct tone of voice. Or I'll use it to create reels for videos. I'll use it to create content. One thing that I've been getting really excited and diving into is the AI avatars. They have gotten incredible in the past couple of months. You can't even tell the difference. And I can see that being utilized in so many different ways in our industry, maybe integrating it with the customer experience, right? When you hit certain milestones, half the time I get these happy birthday videos from you guys where you're doing something weird and it's not personalized. And I'm like, okay, here we go. Another birthday video. How great would it be if you could personalize this video? And not only that, it takes a lot of pressure to get behind the camera every single day. And to not have to do that and people not really be able to tell is going to change the name of the game. There's going to be no more excuses of I can't stay consistent with content, or I can't create that, or I don't have time. AI is changing the way that we do things. And it's so important that we just allow ourselves to get curious about it and learn about it.
I think you're so right. And I think that that's such a fantastic differentiator of keeping that curiosity. Naturally, I think people get skeptical and they get afraid of change. Change is scary. I get it.
Mhm.
But having recently made a huge change myself and having it have been like one of the best decisions of my life, it's like why are we so resistant to this?
Mhm.
Why not instead just go into it and keep an open mind, keep that curious mind that really allows you to actually go exploring what's the worst that can happen.
I think a lot of people are hesitant about it just because it's so overwhelming. Like, where do I start? There's all these different AI platforms constantly coming out. We hear about it in the media, and that's understandable. But one thing that I would really encourage you to do is just start using some AI platform, whether it's Gemini, ChatGPT, whatever it is, just start using that like you would Google, and there you're going to get your feet wet a little bit, learn how it functions. And then one thing that I started doing is, okay, this month I'm going to focus on solving this problem, right? And for me, the first one was, okay, every time I film or do an interview, now I got to go create the micro content because there's nobody to create the micro content for me. And I got to get the transcript. I got to turn that into a summary, and I got to create a catchy title option. And then I got to go post it everywhere. That was the stuff that I didn't like doing. And so I started to get curious, okay, how can I use AI to solve that problem? And the fact that you just spent an entire month just focusing on one problem really made it to where it wasn't so overwhelming. And then you learn one thing, and what does that do? It empowers you to move on to learn the next thing. And then it just kind of keeps evolving from there.
Oh, I love that take. I love that because you're so right. It's so easy to get overwhelmed and to be like, well, now I have to work one more thing into my day, into my repertoire of all the other things that I already have to deal with. But you're right. If you break it down, you don't become an expert overnight in anything. Nothing is comfortable the first couple of times that you do it. But the more consistent that you stick with it, the better you're going to be. And I mean, I love that you use the word empower because that's exactly what you're doing. You're empowering yourself.
Yes.
That's going to expand your capacity so that you can continue to go down the different rabbit holes of it. And you're right. Like it's not going anywhere.
No.
Why are we not better utilizing it to help us out to make us more efficient? I think of it so much of like the internet, right? The
Hmm.
internet came out and email was going to ruin all communication between people. People were so nervous about it. Then it was going to drain all of our accounts when Y2K happened, right? Like there was just so
Hmm.
much misunderstanding of how things actually operate. And not to say that the internet's 100% has only played wonderful roles in our lives, but it's made our lives exponentially easier.
Yes.
So I
Yes,
gotta
I
I
mean,
gotta
think
give it
about this
kudos there.
industry, right? Before technology, I mean, you're doing a pre-qual, you're everything is by hand, you have a
Yeah,
stack of papers on your desk. Think about how much more business you can get done now that you can do most of all of that from your mobile device. Same
amazing,
thing with AI.
right? I know we're both on the road a lot. Like we
Yes.
both consistently are out there to have the flexibility. And again, I know some people need to have that hard shut off time. They want to be in office, that's their time. But consumers don't operate that way.
Mm-mm.
Consumers are focused on their job when they're at their job. They want you to be focused on them when they want you to be focused on them. So if you have that capability to make things really quick, get those interactions cleaned up so that you
Mhm.
can give them the time that they need, but still kind of keep and maintain that space for yourself, why would you not do it? Why would you not do it?
Exactly.
Okay, so speaking of being on the road a lot, let's talk about van life. Give me a little snapshot of what you're doing, where you're living. Break it down for me.
Yes. So the van life kind of dream started over a decade ago. It was back in my personal training days. I had a vision of being a traveling trainer, where I would travel around in my van, do different meetups. I'd have pull-up bars and battle ropes, and I would just work out with strangers traveling across the United States. Well, after that, that's when I got my job at MBS Highway and started doing sales. So I was cold calling. Oh man, I really did not like it at first. The cold calling was rough for the millennial that never wanted to talk on the phone. Yes, but I needed that learning curve. And then I was traveling around a lot for work, just like you, travel around, do a bunch of speaking, living out of a suitcase essentially. And I kind of got a little bit burnt out. And then at the time, I was also ending a long term relationship. And a lot of other things had gone down too. A lot of health things were going on. I had made major decisions about my health, and that kind of started this journey of making decisions that are better for me. And I was going through a cycle of burnout and major change. And I'm like, okay, well, I still have this dream of wanting to live out of a van. And it just everything was perfect. I no longer had my house, so I wasn't tied down with that. I wasn't tied down with a relationship. We had acquired list reports, and so our entire office was now remote. So I could do this. And I just thought, if I don't do this now, and I had this dream over a decade ago, am I going to keep this dream with me on my deathbed and say, man, I wonder what it would have been like had I lived out of a van? And it seems so crazy to say. And sometimes I go through these phases where I'm like, okay, this is something that you do when you're in your 20s, and you can get away with it. Like, what am I doing right now? Am I going through a midlife crisis a little too early? But at the end of the day, I think that it's really important to go out there and chase the things that you want to chase. And
Yeah.
it fills you up with this passion and this purpose and this drive and this excitement for life that is just it's contagious, and it inspires other people at the same time. And that's what I feel like life is about. And I've never been this normal live in a box kind of person. And in my 20s, I think that used to scare me, and I used to kind of be like, no, no, you should live the way society wants you to live. And now that I'm in my 30s, I just why? And so
Right.
I'm on this journey. We'll see what becomes of it. I still spend a lot of the time just like you traveling without the van. I've spent the past 2 weeks in hotels or at family members' homes, but when I get back to my van here, first part of September, it's going to really be me going full time van life, which I'm a little bit
Amazing.
nervous about, but excited about.
I know it's gonna get cold soon.
Well, that's the
You're
thing about
well
full time van life. You rotate wherever, the weather is good.
good. Yeah, that's true. Why not
Yeah,
just travel to where you're warm? Okay, all right.
exactly.
Good
Yeah.
point. I do think there's something to be said. You touched on a couple of things that I just full-heartedly am in with. One, your 30s being that time for almost like a reincarnation of self,
Mm.
where you
Hmm.
reevaluate and you realize, wait a second, I've been upholding all of these different things that I thought were so expected of me. Why?
Yeah.
Why? Is this who I want to be? Is this what I want to be doing? And when you come out of it, when you come away from it and actually discover who you are and what you want,
Hmm.
it almost just takes that burnout element away, where all of a sudden you find your passion again. And I know that for myself, again, only speaking from my own experience, I've never wanted to live in a van. That does not appeal to me in the slightest, where I'm just like, get a girl. Like, I am happy for you, but no part of that resonates with me, right?
Yeah,
But there
yeah.
have been other parts to myself that I in my 30s, I was just like, okay, I need to reevaluate this.
Hmm.
And it was that relationship with myself.
Yep.
Did I like the type of person I was? Did I like who I was surrounding myself with?
Mm.
And really removing some of those more toxic elements
Yep.
and not having a reason to do it other than it just didn't sit right in my bones anymore.
Yep.
And so I love that you were so willing to take such a big and drastic measure when you could have easily just been like, no, it's okay. I'll keep doing the things. I'll get another house, right? Instead,
Yep.
no, you followed your intuition. You followed what your actual, I guess, soul was saying to you. And I think
Yes.
that that is just the coolest. So
Thanks.
good for
It's
you.
definitely still a learning journey. Part of being on this band adventure is constantly, it's kind of discovering that aspect of myself, redefining those parts, because some of them are still unclear at this point in time. And so I'm really excited about some of the content that I will be creating because this is all kind of about discovering what my boundaries are and kind of pushing myself beyond those boundaries and what are my fears and how do I push myself past those fears and redefine those definitions. So there'll be some fun content.
Yeah, it's going to be a growth journey, that's for sure. There's
Yes.
going to be a lot to come out of it. So good for you. I'm sure we'll all make sure to follow you. Let's have you do that. What are your social channels so that people can find you and follow along?
Yes, so you can find me on Instagram. It's I am Megan Anderson. And I think it's the same on Facebook. You can also follow my blog journey. That's on my website where I kind of like post a little bit more of, the deeper side of things that I'm going through with van life. And you can find that at iammegananderson.com.
That's so fun. I'm sure to a kind of different degree, it is so inspiring when you see other people who are actually acting out on their dreams that you can draw from that. Whether it's, buying a van yourself and doing that, or I don't know, buying a horse if you've always wanted a horse, right? But just
Hmm.
finding those things that really ignite you. And I think it's amazing. I know I don't know you super well, but I feel this like sense of pride even for you to just be like, good for you. Good for you. Good for
Thank
you
you.
for going after it. Okay, now let's get back to just kind of business and in the mortgage world. I know and I want to try to keep this as evergreen as possible, but the Fed met. We know that there are rate cuts coming. We know that there are rate cuts coming. I want to get your insight on let's take this a couple of ways. One, how you keep yourself well informed to where you can make those projections and you can speak to it with confidence. Let's talk about that. But two, I also want your take on what's kind of happening with this crazy pre-election
Mhm.
interest rates being thinking that they would be here, but they've stayed here, and now we're thinking they'll go here. I just want to hear your thoughts on all things economy right now. Let's go. Give me the
Yes.
Megan deep dive.
So, first and foremost, the reason that I feel confident enough to stand here and, well, sit here and talk to you about this is because it's part of what I have to do at MBS Highway, or I should say, what I get to do at MBS Highway. So, we come out with a morning update video every single morning, breaking down the various economic reports and housing reports and how it's going to affect the market. And so with that, I get to learn from the best of the best. I get to learn from Barry Habib and the entire team. We go back and forth, breaking them down, understanding them, and that's really where I kind of learned a lot of it is just simply being here doing this for the past 9 years. Now, that being said, we kind of had a major kind of turning stone last week. The Fed had met. Jerome Powell basically came out and said that it's time for a policy change, which they've been done hiking rates, right? But the question on everyone's mind has always been, when is the Fed going to come in and cut the Fed funds rate? And the Fed funds rate is different than mortgage rates, right? The Fed funds rate is more like the overnight borrowing rate for banks. It affects certain things. It doesn't affect mortgage rates directly, but it does affect them. And so when we do see the Fed come in and cut rates, which the market is 100% pricing in for their next meeting in September, we're going to start to see mortgage rates decline. And that'll be a great thing for us. But on the flip side of that, we also see the consumer struggling a bit more, right? Unpaid credit card debt is increased. We're seeing, depending on the audience that you're looking at, but the lower individuals are not spending as much money on things that they don't have to spend money on. We're seeing just kind of some negative signs out there. Everyone's been talking about, are we really headed for a soft landing like the Fed has been saying, or are we headed for a recession? I don't think that we're going to hear too much about that until after the elections, simply because they want consumers to feel good. The better that they feel, the more likely that they're going to go out there and vote. So I think that some of that stuff will maybe clear up a little bit more after elections. I think naturally people are a little bit hesitant as well to make larger decisions during time periods of elections, just in general. I do think once we see the Fed funds rate move lower and in turn see mortgage rates move lower, that will get some people off the sidelines that, a lot of my millennial friends have been sitting on the sidelines for years now, just waiting for that housing crash or waiting for rates to come down before purchasing. So naturally, I think that the housing market will remain resilient in that regard. We also still don't have enough inventory out there, yet we have demand. And so that will point to strong appreciation, as well, on top of a little mini refinance boom to come when we do see, mortgage rates move lower as well. So a lot of good things in this industry for us to prepare ourselves for and look forward to.
Love that. Do you have any just kind of final bits of Megan insight of what you would recommend people do who are maybe gearing up for the little refi boom that's coming our way, or for people who are looking to expand their business? What do you think is kind of a great utilization of their time
Yeah,
right now?
I would say, if you want to capture that refinance boom to come, I would definitely recommend that you get your systems and processes set in place. And what I mean by that is your conversion ratio of actually capturing those clients goes up exponentially if you are staying top of mind. So, whatever that is, maybe you send out a monthly newsletter. Great. Maybe you want to create content for social media about the benefits of refinancing and consolidating their debt. Maybe you want to utilize our new home report tool that allows you to stay top of mind by sending out a monthly email to your past database, letting them know their equity position, showing them comps, whatever the case may be. There are multiple ways to do this. Maybe you want to create an AI avatar and have it be sent out with messages in an email cadence using your CRM for clients that you've, closed transactions with in the past 2 years. Whatever it is, just make sure that you get out there and you get it set up now so that you're not struggling trying to get that business once it's already taken place.
Totally. If you wait until it's happening, you're already irrelevant. Could not
Yes.
agree more. Well, thank you so much for joining me again. It was so fun to get to take a little bit more of a deep dive with you. I hope we can do this again in the future because I need to just keep all those fan life updates and vet updates and all the things, and you're the perfect person for both. So, thank you again.
Thank you.